Welcome back to the Prana and Poetry Pod. This is episode 7, part 3 of Business and Decoloniality, the final part in this series. In the previous episode, I critiqued the purported value neutrality of colonial capital mindfulness practice. I also discussed the cultural appropriation of dharmic practices, how it is a spiritual bypass and reinforces colonial systems. I addressed decolonization and cultural reparations, as well as revealing the deception of words like embodiment, mindfulness, somatics, and trauma-informed. This was all in episode 6, part 2, if you'd like to go back and listen to that. I concluded this episode with what it means to seek true change and how this ties to the importance of authenticity in being in relationship to the source culture, the land, and other people. Authentic relationship with yourself and others, be it your customers and clients. Truth is the basis of an ethical business. A dharmic business and the journey of dharmic entrepreneurship is bigger than the individual who creates it. Rather, it is co-created from personal and universal truths for the good of all. So today's final episode in this series is on algorithms. As in reality, as in algorithms. If you're a brown or black body, I know you've struggled with being seen and heard in online social media platforms created by big tech companies. I happen to know of an insider of big tech, and that person affirms to me the bias coded in the algorithms. There is an inherent inequality and racial bias when it comes to visibility in the algorithms. So when a white business teacher or marketing coach gives you information about getting your offerings in front of your ideal customers and blah blah, and let's say their client is a person of color, what they're not telling you, probably because of their inherent bias, is that you, as a person of color, have to work a gazillion times harder than the person who the algorithm is designed for. I've been in coaching circles where BIPOC individuals are deeply upset and hurt over not getting any visibility in their spiritual and creative businesses or offerings, and it just breaks my heart that the teacher or business coach cannot give a solution but offers the blanket prescriptions developed for a white body to succeed. So now I'm here to tell you it fucking sucks. The algorithm. Ask yourself who designs it and their political agendas. As in reality, as in algorithm. Macrocosm, microcosm. The internet is just a mirror of the systems of harm that form our reality, keeping certain people oppressed and others less oppressed. And no, I don't buy into the polarities and binaries that social media creates. Social media is not reality, it is a mirror. And if you abandon your mind to it, it is your prison. But there are real issues with capitalist systems of harm, and all the resources are in my Dharma and Decolonial toolkit, so just go through these materials to understand the context I'm speaking in, especially when it comes to indigenous knowledge systems. Read these resources from insiders of the culture, then come to your own conclusions. Otherwise, you're just living this one-sided reality, not understanding or holding empathy for those who don't look like you. The ugly truth is that people of color have to work harder and grind. In the dharmic context, it is the sadhana that sustains us, true yoga sadhana. This is what supports operating within these material world and online systems of harm. The dharmic business is as much of a transformational inner journey as it is an outer one. The shadows we encounter as we create and lead our business will reflect the shadows in the outer world. Embodiment and somatic healing is all good and necessary to thrive as we create, launch, and provide spiritual, creative, and healing support to others. You know, this is the new trend, but who has the privilege to slow down and feel their sensations all the time? The privilege to say, just rest. It's all easy. It doesn't have to be hard. Let it be easy. Just feel your body sensations. Seriously, who holds the privilege to let it be easy? Not BIPOC, not marginalized folks, that's for fucking sure. What has made us succeed is grit, like the grit and tenacity of our immigrant parents. This is where a white-bodied facilitator or business coach is shadowed by their biased conditionings and ignorance over systemic racism and cultural differences. For children of immigrants or cultural bodies from the global south, yes, we do need to engage in somatic healing on our entrepreneurship journey, but the best way to heal big emotions is within community. This is what Indigenous teachings tell us. So here's the point I'm making. Those from marginalized communities have to do business differently than the dominant culture for whom the algorithm is designed. And what is an algorithm? It is an opinion embedded in code. Whose opinion? The ones in charge or designing it. Who are the designers at the top? White men. Who created and sustained colonialism? White men. Welcome to the world of digital colonialism, where machine learning research is considerably white and male, as are the programmers. And welcome to data capitalism, where online informational places and spaces are manipulated and controlled by the same bodies that maintain these unequal power structures. The social media algorithms are encoded with the biases and stereotypes and fear of the other that are inherent of the dominant culture. You can't even type in the phrase white supremacy on Instagram without it flagging it up. Sinister or what? You can see precisely what it is maintaining and protecting. The superiority of whiteness or anybody who maintains and protects it, whether consciously or unconsciously. AI is also inheriting these human biases, also inheriting colonizer narratives of Indigenous people and their histories. Technology, the internet, is just reflecting society, the real world, where certain narratives are shaped by those holding enormous power. It is no different than a colonial empire. Do you think this empire grants equal visibility to all? Nope. It reflects the same racial structures that form our reality. The algorithm gives you more of what you're engaging with. When used, the algorithm reproduces biases already embedded in people's behaviors. For example, white yoga teachers will have an inherent conditioned bias to seek and learn from other white yoga teachers, unless, of course, they have a certain level of intelligence and awareness to seek out what is different and be aware of their biases. So the conditioned white person will look for other white teachers on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Then the algorithm will deliver more of the same. It will constantly push what is already sought and upheld within the dominant consciousness and culture of what is obviously white supremacy and capital colonialism. Even BIPOC, or those originating from the global south, are conditioned to seek out what is in the dominant psyche. I've had fellow Indian teachers of our own cultural practices ask, where are the other Indian teachers? Why aren't they popular? Why don't they have platforms like these white influencers who are able to accumulate enough of a following to attain capital? And my answer then was, I don't know. We have to become these people, probably. Yet I know now it's to do with algorithm bias, as in real life, systemic racism and oppression, as in algorithm. This model is called data capitalism, and the online matrix is called digital colonialism. The point is, in the wellness industry, native teachers are left out, unseen and unheard in the algorithm bias, lost in the sea of data capitalism and algorithmic racism. And of course, this 100% reflects what is happening in reality. Native teachers are being excluded from opportunities to teach their own cultural practices because white people are seeking other white people. It's just one big filter bubble in the real world and in the online world. Not only is there a biased filter, there is also censorship. Online content is censored. Words like racism, white, and even colonization is flagged and not allowed to be seen, as confirmed by writer Dana Brown-Lee in her article published on Forbes. We have to find workarounds like misspellings of white to even be published to the public. Lisa Hurley, a popular activist on LinkedIn, explains how exhausting this is to find creative ways to express. Can a white person even imagine the labor and effort and time that brown and black bodies have to put in to even get seen on a platform, let alone be engaged with? No, because the system is designed for them. Let it be easy, they say, because it is fucking easy for them. In the same Forbes article by Dana Brown-Lee, Lisa Hurley says, "It is all a part of the additional labor that is demanded of black and global majority people to merely exist, create, and communicate." And listen to this, Hurley says, in the same way that many white people are triggered by being called white, the algorithms are triggered by the word as well. The design can only be a reflection of the designer. That gave me chills. What we can see then is that inequality and oppression is a natural feature of the algorithm. It is just amplifying what is already existing in the world. When we as BIPOC soulpreneurs are marketing and selling using these online platforms, we need to be aware of this data capitalism, be aware that information is commodified and extracted and distorted in favor of white bodies, in the same way as real life, where indigenous cultural knowledge is extracted, distorted, and commodified for the dominant group, for the purpose of maintaining colonial supremacy. That means we must find workarounds, be extra creative. As always, a one-size-fits-all business and online marketing strategy and guidance is not going to work for those who this system is designed to keep invisible. So don't be disheartened when the advice created for a white body doesn't work for you. Just be aware, as in reality, as in algorithm. In the creative online dance world of TikTok, black dancers have had their original content held back from popularity, while white dancers who copied their work went viral. Doesn't this sound so familiar when we apply it to the wellness industry? The original culture is exploited by white bodies who are given credit and visibility for something they did not put the labor into creating personally. A TikTok study revealed an alarming trend in which the algorithm tends to recommend accounts with similar racial features to those of the user's personal profile. Considering who the dominant users are in the Western world, we all know who benefits from this coding. Business advice for BIPOC communities cannot be the one-size-fits-all guidance that white coaches offer. Firstly, due to historical and systemic oppression, BIPOC don't generally have access to the same resources and visibility and do not begin on the same footing. Are these factors taken into account in your business? Or do you give blanket guidance and teachings and advice as if every individual is playing on the same stage, as if we all feel the same level of safety, as if we can speak our truth freely surrounded by those who react in fragility? Consider how to create justice and fairness in business, knowing the inequalities of reality. BIPOC do not have the same starting lines. And this is important to teach those who come to you for guidance rather than giving a one-method-fits-all solution. So how to do good business, one that doesn't exploit or harm a particular group? Let's move to a more optimistic topic. Dharmic Entrepreneurship. What is it? A dharmic business naturally will be based on a dharmic modality. Dharma is alive, it is fluid, it flows. It is a natural law whose purpose is to support growth and evolution. This means wherever dharma operates, including within a human body or a business entity, its inherent function is to cause a state of thriving. It upholds the purpose of a person or a business where it is nurtured and protected. If the outcome of anything is the movement towards balance, peace, nurturance, harmony, and growth, like a seed to a flower, then that thing is powered by a dharmic force. Sanatan Dharma, whilst based on universal truths, recognizes the eternal law of change. That change is constant and one must adapt to changing times and evolve. This is why generally Hindus have adapted well and have thrived in foreign lands. One must change and grow and adapt according to the times, according to location. Context is always important. This is where one's own purpose or swadharma comes in. Whatever one's own purpose or mission may be, a Hindu or Sanatani is always guided by the eternal, timeless truths, along with Samanya Dharma as the overarching counsel of behavior and action that benefits all beings. We must also account for and adapt to the Yuga cycle, currently the Kali Yuga. In a cycle where dharma has declined, how does one show up and act in this time in a way that upholds one's own path and purpose and the greater good? What must you do now that you cannot apply to previous more harmonious yugas that have come before? Ahimsa in a particular context and situation, for example, may have worked in the previous yuga, but does it work now in your own particular context and situation? For example, can a person subjected to daily domestic violence practice ahimsa? Dharmic values are not rigid. They must be performed according to time and place and situation. If one is a homemaker, she or he may have to become a kshatriya, a warrior, if the circumstance demands it. One's personal dharma is dependent on the greater dharma and what is occurring right now. These are all things to contemplate on and consider. Dharma is not a one-size-fits-all concept. This is a Western idea. Dharma is as complex and vast and diverse as nature herself. Our scriptures even give guidance on how to do business with integrity. One advice is not harming anyone while selling and not harming with what is sold. Acting in self-interest at the expense of harm towards others may not be a dharmic act. In dharmic entrepreneurship, just like in a guru-shishya parampara, how yoga is taught authentically, one must have wise counsel, good support, and teachers to help you with internal moral and ethical conflicts when doing business. Surround yourself with those who are also on the path of dharmic entrepreneurship. The dharmic business model uplifts those whose culture you're using for your business. It involves giving back to the culture, preserving dharma, ensuring it is passed on to the next generation, undistorted. For example, with one's profit, one can contribute to a dharmic cause. For example, supporting temples, protecting them from destruction. Temples are at the heart of dharma. It is the soul of the Sanatan civilization, which is why they are constantly targeted for destruction. Temples are where the performing of rituals take place, like yajnas, which ensure cosmic order and balance, which support harmony within the self and within nature. True healing and transformative education centered around the temple. What is the dharmic cause your business supports? Someone from the source culture is coming to you to learn about their ancestral practices, which you teach in your business. How can you, with compassion, lead not with appropriation, but with curiosity and humility? If, for example, you don't know all the answers, which you don't, no one does. Do your fees reflect accessibility, or are you catering to those who look like you? And that's fine if that's what you're called to do, but have honesty and the attitude of knowing your privilege and the privilege of those you serve. Communicate honestly. Don't disguise who your offerings are marketed for. Honesty will get you respect. Giving back to the culture could mean contributing to specific dharmic charities or serving its living community in some way. Be creative. It doesn't have to be a monetary value, just of value. What preserves the dharma? How to protect it from erasure and destruction? What of the colonial trauma and grief of those who come from the culture? These are all just questions for self-inquiry and a way of least harm as you build your business or are looking to create a more equitable and reciprocal pathway. The meaning of dharmic entrepreneurship is in the word dharma, where you don't just work for the needs and fulfillment of yourself, but you contribute to the establishment and continuity of dharma. You perform the ethical and communal duties to ensure wholeness in self and world. Possibilities can open up through creativity. Think bigger. A dharmic business does not center Eurocentric norms or whiteness. It is based on the ethics of the yamas and niyamas. And you can also insert other indigenous cultural methods of leadership and morality here, because there is a deep knowing and likeness among those who hold the natural world as sacred. The dharmic model fosters a culture of community and care. Each person is valued for the unique role they play, the equal value they bring, and their individual strengths. This was the foundation of the Dharma ashrama system, which caused the Sanatan civilization to thrive. The ancient Greeks themselves have documented how Sanatanis thrived in their dharmic reality, which the invaders over the centuries sought to corrupt and destroy, and succeeded in their ill intentions. We will never know how our way of life would have evolved through time untouched by predatory forces. I imagine you long to work for yourself and be done with the matrix that deprives you of energy and time to fulfill your big dreams and impactful purpose. So I'm inviting you to join me in moving towards dharmic entrepreneurship. In this journey, those of us working hard to reclaim our ancestral, nature-orientated traditions are brought along towards the center of business experience, our voices uplifted and heard by those sensitive awakening minds who are repairing the disconnection with body, mind, and spirit. I would love for you to join me in this natural evolution in time, in adding basic goodness and moral order back into our realities, where honesty and reciprocal energy exchange is at the heart of business, where the emphasis is not on being burnt out because we are uplifting and supporting each other. So those of us who are smart enough to know that yes, we do have to work hard as black and brown bodies, but with support of a like-minded community with shared values, we do not have to mirror the exhaustion of our parents' generation. Let's return to connection over competition, solidarity and collaboration over self-serving behavior, support and upliftment of indigenous and marginalized faces and voices instead of individualism and hoarding of resources. Speak up with us and for us. Call out harm against us. Don't go back into the unconscious blissful sleep of ignorance. Let's seek a greater mission alongside our personal whys and help impact humanity rather than just the few who look like you. Sanatan Dharma, the eternal path, is reawakening for these dark times. Its truth and wisdom is like the gentle, nourishing moon in the night sky. Though we be surrounded by a blanket of shadows, there is this nurturing, ever-present luminous glow that takes many shapes, surrounded by a path of glistening stars lighting the way. And the nakshatras, the stars, really do lead the way. Part of its meaning, naksha, is a map. And the timeless Hindu Shastras are guides that teach us how to remain in equilibrium with nature, with creation, teaching us the light of consciousness. It's time to remember the cyclical order of the universe, Rhythm, which also exists within as Dharma's foundation. Balance within, balance without. Think in circles, not lines. Dharma provides reciprocity. True yogis, sadhus, and gurus know that if you protect it, it protects you. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Here's to all the blooming, spiritual, creative, innovative, and conscious dharmic entrepreneurs. Rise up, warriors. Hey, it's Bile. I'm excited to announce that I'm creating a network of native Dharmic teachers and facilitators and guides. This is a means of support, connection, and ancestral healing for us. It's a space of sharing our experiences with each other in the well-being industry. And if you're interested in being part of it, or even just in getting started in Dharmic Entrepreneurship, comment ancestral support below or anywhere and anytime on my social media pages. DM me or send me an email and I'll add you to my list. My email is bile@branaandpoetry.com. All links shared below. Also, while you're here, download my Dharma and Decolonial Toolkit, which is just a simple Google Doc of carefully crafted resources, books, articles, etc. to help you to uncolonize your understanding of Indic history and Dharmic cultural practices. Let's prioritize deconditioning and unlearning the colonial mentality and get on the same page.